Hi everyone, I am Heather, and I want to welcome you to Magnificent Authors Podcast, brought to you by Magnificent Mamas. This is the show where we'll celebrate the magic of storytelling and the power of words. I'm your host, Heather, and each week I'll be sitting down with incredible authors from all walks of life to explore their creative journeys, uncover their writing secrets, and delve into worlds they create. Whether you are an aspiring writer, a passionate reader, or simply curious about the minds behind your favorite books, this is the podcast for you. So grab a cozy blanket, pour yourself a cup of tea, and get ready to be inspired by the magnificent authors who join us. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, I am Heather with Magnificent Mamas and Magnificent Authors Podcast. We're joined here today with Hilly Barmby. Sorry if I said that wrong.
Barmby.
I'm sorry.
I'm always Barmby. Yeah.
So nice to meet you, by the way. And you have a lovely
house. Yeah, it's lovely to meet you.
Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah. I'm Hilly Barmby, and I've been writing for a very, very long time. But I sort of had an overnight success after 30 years by being published in 2022. So it did take a while. Yeah, but I didn't give up. So to anybody out there, please don't give up. Just keep on going. And then I've had a little bit of a snowball where I had 2 books picked up by Bloodhound Books, the publisher. So I've got From My Cold Dead Hands.
Nice.
And that's set in Atlanta, Georgia, and is a very twisty turny. They're mostly psychological. I also do young adult, but it was from a what if moment, and I watched Michael Moore's Bowling for Columbine, and was blown away by it, and I just thought, hang on a minute, what if? And so this book came from that. I had a great deal of interest from a very, very big agent. And at the end, he said he couldn't quite work out where to place it, which, of course, breaks your heart. It's just horrible when you're so close and then they go, oh, actually, no. And you're like, oh, no. And then he said, write me another book. And I was like, really? And I was a full-time teacher at that point. So I did write another book, which is this one called The Pact. And this one, he basically said, oh, you need a female agent. And I thought, that's a cop-out, but hey-ho, But Bloodhound picked up on the both of them, and they were both published in 2022. But I started off writing like middle grade and young adult work. So this was just a huge leap out of my comfort zone.
Definitely.
And yeah, but I sent off... Dog. Sorry, dog moment.
No, I get it. I have a dog too. My dog is outside running because my daughter was taking him to the tie out to put him on the chain earlier, because we have like a long chain so he can go through the yard because we live in the country. Yeah. And he took off running, and he's been running around all day. So
yeah,
I get it.
I mean, we live on a Spanish mountainside. So even though I'm English, we live in the depths of like southern Spain. So we're outside of a small town. We live in with the Spanish, and it's I do speak Spanish, but the accent here and the dialect is really tricky. Even Spanish from other parts of Spain can't understand the locals here. So it does make it a bit tricky. But I'm surrounded by orange trees and walnuts and I've got something called Nispera, which nobody's ever heard of because they never export them because they're such fragile fruit that they don't go very far. So we just eat them, which is brilliant. Just make sorbet and whatever. So absolutely beautiful. I'm surrounded by mountains. It is gorgeous.
How did you end up in Spain?
Well, I about 30 something years ago, I did something called woofing. I don't know if you have it over there, willing workers on organic farms. And I just went traveling with my partner at the time, and you literally go from farm to farm to farm. They give you food, they give you somewhere to sleep, and then you work for them.
Oh,
You
that
know,
is
and if you, it's, you know, you have to wrangle it out beforehand. You can't just, you know, think that it's all going to be hunky dory. We had a few scary experiences, I must
oh,
admit,
I
but
bet.
I ended up here as one of my woofing experiences, and then thought, I'm coming back. So I did, within like 8 months. I came back here in the 1990s. Then I had to leave again, and then I came back in 2016. So
Oh,
we've
wow.
been here nearly 8 years. It's an amazing life, and this is where I, you know, I paint and I write and
That's
live the
amazing.
idyllic life that everybody, you know, aspires to.
That is so
Anyway,
cool.
so back to my books. This one
Yes, definitely.
is book one of a trilogy. So this is my young adult work. So this is a dystopian, like futuristic view of England. Obviously, I'm
Okay.
English, so you know.
Yeah,
Um, and I sent it to Spellbound Books, and they accepted it. And of course, I put in that it's, you know, book one of a trilogy, and they said yes, okay, here's the contract for the full three. And I'm like, oh right, okay, I have to now write the other two books. So
no,
I did, and book two is coming out this May. So, you know, very excited about that, and it's a beautiful cover.
that's
Um,
awesome. Congrats.
so, yeah, so it all just sort of snowballed. So book three is at the end of the year, November, December. Still got to be sort of finalised, but it has been written, so that's good.
Yeah.
um, and at the same time, so this is all a bit like, wow, I sent off one of my books to Hobeck Books, and they accepted it, and this is my first Hobeck book, which is Best Served Cold, and this
Nice.
one is set in Brighton, where I used to live. And one of the things that I managed to do is get, because I'm of a certain age, I've managed to get most of my life in all of my books. So,
Oh,
um, you know, I discuss all the places I've been, you know, all the bars, the restaurants, the nooks and crannies, um, and a lot of it is, you know, what I've experienced. But of course, with that twist of it being a psychological thriller, the bits hopefully that I
definitely.
haven't experienced, you know, but they're, you know, it's all based on a lot of truth, which I really enjoy. Um, so that one's set in Brighton at Christmas time, when it's all supposed to be sparkly and lovely, and of course it's not,
No.
because of all the other stuff that's going on. A lot of my books also have like dual timelines, and some of them have multiple perspectives as well. So, like with the Pact, it's from three women's point of view,
Hmm.
and the story, so
Looks
you
really
get their
good.
backstories. Um, and I, you know, some of those things did happen to me, and they were really horrible. This was published March, so 26th of March. This again is another Hobeck book, and you can sort of see that they've all got their distinct styles. So the Hobeck are like that, and the
Yeah.
Bloodhound are a lot sort of not starker, but you know, you can see that
The
these are the
creepiness.
Bloodhounds and those are the Hobeck. Um,
Why did you go
this
through
one,
different publishers, if you don't mind me asking?
well, Bloodhound, we sort of parted ways,
Okay.
and then I got picked up by Hobeck, who are they're a lovely publisher. They're so
Nice.
just on the ball, and you know that if you pop an email to them, you know they will respond so fast, and they're very caring. Um, but this one is set at a French wedding, and again,
Oh,
I have gone to this French wedding, but hopefully the really nasty stuff in it, the scary stuff, didn't happen. I hope so. And it's somewhere that I used to go, because as a young person at school, if you did a language, you were kind of not forced, but it was part of the curriculum that you went and spent like 3 weeks with a French family. So you
yeah.
would just be dumped on them for 3 weeks, and then a different time of the year, their kid would be dumped on you and your family. And I did it a number of times, and I ended up going to this place, and it was absolutely idyllic. And again, I thought, well, why, what would happen if I then took that French wedding in this idyllic place and again twisted it? So that's that one. So, and I'm starting to write another one. Hobeck have accepted a third book. So 30 years of writing has finally paid off.
That's amazing, though.
It is amazing. And and I'm writing another one as we speak, sort of thing. It's on the screen, 14,000 words in, so it's like, yeah, okay, this is, it's coming along.
I'm working on a couple different ones. They're all set in the same series, but they're standalones, and it's like sci-fi fantasy. But
Ooh.
I'm
hang on, the dog. Just give me. Come on then. Sorry about that. She's just heard a woof outside, and that's it. Gotta go.
Oh,
sorry, carry on.
Oh, I was just saying I'm in one of those spots where you're struggling to write. So it's kind of where I'm at right now.
It is tricky. I mean, I'm very, very blessed in the fact that I gave up my job, came out here, and I'm putting my all into it. But I can, and it's if you're juggling family and work and all the rest of it. I mean, I did most of my writing while I was a full-time teacher.
Yeah.
So, but it's hard,
possible.
I mean, we used to, my partner's a musician, so we hide in our boxes. And even if when I lived in Brighton, or when we lived in Brighton, people would come round, and sometimes we'd hide because we were doing our stuff. And it's like, no, not going out to party, not going to go out and have fun. Weekends and evenings and holidays and all the rest of it are spent writing and doing music.
I come back here and do podcast, and the other day my husband had his friend over for a couple days visiting, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do a podcast, and his friend was like, what did I miss? It was cool. Like, I love to have my own little area. It's great.
Yes, I think that's really important.
So why don't you tell me a little bit more about your books, like a little more in general, if you can, without giving away spoilers or anything?
Oh, I know, it's the spoilers that, because I've done author interviews before. I sort of go, because I'm just about to let something, and you go, and you come across as like a blithering idiot.
Well, usually, people don't want the authors to say what the spoilers are, because I want somebody to go out and buy your book. But then you get some people that want the authors to, say the spoilers, and it's like, let's not do that, because we want them to go buy the book. And if they know everything already, then they're not going to go buy the book.
Yeah, exactly. Because the whole point of a psychological thriller is people think, oh, I know what's happening. I know exactly what's happening. I'm so clever. I know exactly what's happening. Oh, no, I didn't. And it's that, oh, no. It's brilliant. And I've had so many people, I mean, I've had people messenger me, saying, it's alien abduction. No, don't tell me. It's this. And it's like, it's a psychological thriller. It's not a paranormal something or other, it's like, but I don't think it is alien abduction. Really? Okay. From A Cold Dead Hands, it starts off with somebody being basically hit by a black taxi in London. And then Cassie wakes up in hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, and can't remember anything. So, it's an old trope, but lots of people said, you tackled it in a completely different way. So, I'm really pleased about that. And she wakes up and she realizes that, she comes from a very wealthy background. And initially it's like, wow. But at the same time, she's having like flashbacks, memories, don't know what it is, something that absolutely says this is not your life. and this is where the alien abduction or the whatever comes in, because she's just, these flashes are frightening. And she's like, why do I feel like I've stolen this life? Because it doesn't fit with whatever it is that's like at the back of my head, and then she starts to sort of question her whole lifestyle. So I'll leave it there, because it does get very nitty gritty with, while she's coming to terms with what's going on around her, her family, who are kind of estranged from her children don't seem to like her. And she's like, well, why is that? And then she starts to realize why they might not like her.
They might not be her children.
No, they are definitely her children. It's just her kind of views about life and stuff. So, and then the denouement, I think, is something that caught a lot of people. So, I'm very pleased. Some people said, I got it, but it didn't stop the enjoyment of it. So that's good. The Pact, again, heavily based on my life, is about a young woman, and Elena Riviera, and Ellie, she gets contacted by her ex, Michael Storm, who is, absolutely drop dead gorgeous and whatever. But she broke up with him about 8 years beforehand, and it wasn't a happy breakup. And what it is, they all make a pact. There's 6 of them. So 6 kids, when they're 18, they put their hands on each other and they go, right, we'll all meet up when we're 30. Absolutely brilliant. And he has this idea that, yes, they are going to, and he contacts everybody, and it's like, we're all going to meet in this. And I've been to this place. It's the most beautiful, kind of like, it's a medieval inn in England. So, and I went there for like Christmas and New Year, and it's like spectacular. Beautiful. It's wonderful. So he's like, it's all on me, and you're all coming, and everybody's like, hey, but all the people involved have reasons as to why they really shouldn't go, So, but they're all like, oh, okay, it's going to be a freebie. It's going to be, we'll suck it up, and we're go and enjoy the food and the drink, and hopefully we'll never see these people again, for another 8 years or whatever. But it's something happens, and the host, Michael, doesn't turn up to his own reunion.
Oh wow.
So it's what has happened. So that's that one. And that, again, the ending caught, I would say, 98% of people
by surprise.
Yeah, which is what I want. Are we running out of time? I don't want to over.
No, you're okay. You're fine. Don't worry about the time.
Okay. Best served cold. Obviously, it's revenge. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and it is, and it's an illustrator, and she's got her something like 8th or 9th book launch. So she's doing all the fairy tales, the Grimm's and the Grimm and Anderson fairy tales, which I have done because I used to illustrate the fairy tales and stuff. So again, after my own heart. She lives in Brighton. She's got a best mate that everybody adores. They're like, oh, everybody needs a best mate, like Alice.
Yeah.
So the heroine is called Lily, and she's doing this launch, and she sees somebody that it's that kind of bolt of electricity, like makes her hair stand on end, and she's like, well, that was weird. And then this person becomes entangled. This woman becomes entangled in her and Alice's life, and they set her up. They basically, they do a dating app, and they're like, come on, Lily, get back into the dating world. No. And they choose a man called Jack, who, he's a lovely chap. And then weird things start to happen. And, Lily's like, am I just losing my mind? What's going on? And you get like the dual timeline where she's her art school days, which were basically my art school days. and with her partner at the time, and how it all goes really pear-shaped. And then as the timelines kind of meet, that's when it's the explosive ending where everybody's like, oh, that's not good. But
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
that story. I can't say anything more because I don't
No,
want to let the
we
cat
don't.
out the bag.
No. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean it's all in the blurbs and everything. So
Yeah.
And then Never Forgive You. Obviously, it's not a happy wedding. Two timelines again, the dual timelines. And from the start that there's, because the prologue is simply 2 lines of we know what you did and we will never forgive you, that sort of thing. It's it's very to the point. A family, they're very, very rich. They're slightly arrogant to say the least, privileged, and they're coming back to this French, kind of like they call it a provincial house, but it's a chateau. So it's a little chateau in the French countryside, and they're coming back for their cousin's wedding. Now, the young man of the family, he's got a new girlfriend, Hetty, and you get it from Hetty's point of view, and you get it from his twin sister. Well, he's got twin sisters, Elsa and I've forgotten her name.
Oh, no.
whatever she's called. I've got too many people in my head.
I get it.
You get the so your 2 perspectives, and Elsa's like story that leads up to the ending of the book, about why there should be this revenge best served cold. But Hetty doesn't come from that background. She's from a very poor, quite abused background. So it's that whole thing of they jog along quite merrily, completely oblivious as to all of their privileges, and she's made to feel sometimes a little bit inferior, and she's like, well, I shouldn't, because just because of my circumstances, I shouldn't be judged like that. But she's the one that works it out in the end, what has happened. So it is, some people have got the ending, some people were caught completely by surprise, but that it's leading up to something,
thinking it's going one way and then it go a totally different way.
Yeah, I mean, some people have said, well, I just blamed everybody, just to, it's like everybody did it. And it's like, well, no, but yeah. So and then, like I said, the Easy Life trilogy. I have to keep doing this voice, Easy Life. Sorry about that. It's just it keeps coming out. This one is basically it's set 100 years into the future, where England, the government has used extensive fracking, has destroyed the infrastructure. I mean, I did write this before we ever got Brexit, but in the book, England breaks away, breaks away from Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. It is the sovereign state of England, and it's they've done so much like genetic modification on the corn, that it's one of the made them infertile. So humanity's like, oh dear, we really need to sort this. So if you're rich enough, you can have a procedure, and you can have children. So the rich live a lovely life. They all live in pods as well, because the land's so devastated. They have clean air, they have clean water. Everybody outside, it's not a good life. They have to ration their water. They can't wash their hair. They don't wash their dishes in water. They wash it in sand. Because in places that don't have water, that's how you do it.
They used to do that back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. So and one of the Easy Life is like a secretive company that basically produces clones. So the very rich, I mean, you have to be very rich to have one of these, get these clones, and you can put in what you want. So you can put in all of your memories, you can put in some of them, you can say, I want it to be really good at this or that. And sort of anti-hero Benny has a clone made, and they call him Benedict. So
Nice.
we know why he's been created, because Benny has been paired off with this awful girl called Bryony, and he's like, I'm not dealing with that. I'll get the clone to deal with that, because she's having his baby, because she's another rich one. They've paired off the genes, and but he's like, oh, because she is terrible. And they're all at school, and then you get the poor kids, and they're like, well, they're treated abominably. And then you get something called the Macchia, which is a very old-fashioned name for resistance. It's the resistance. And you start to see that some people, some of these kids might actually be in the Macchia. And it's how they all swirl around. So, Benedict's life, you get Ketty and Tish, who are some of the kids at school.
Yeah.
And it ends... I don't ever do cliffhangers, because it really annoys me when somebody leaves you on a cliffhanger, because it's not fair. So it finishes at a lovely point, but it obviously leads on to book 2. But it is the whole, how do you get out of your class system, how do you get out of poverty if you haven't got anything? And also the main thing is, what does it mean to be human? Because Benny, as the real human, is horrible. He's a arrogant, privileged, nasty piece of work. You could say that he's got reasons to be, but Benedict, as the clone, is the most human out of the lot of them.
That's crazy.
So that's what all my stories are about. And I hope I didn't drop in a spoiler, because it's so easy.
Well, maybe if you did, then they might not even realize it. So
yeah, I don't think I did. Yeah.
So what got you into writing? Obviously you're an artistic person. You paint, you have that, I don't know, I just feel like writers, they're usually into art or music, some other creative outlets. So what got you into writing?
I've been writing. I mean, I started off writing really horrifyingly bad poetry. I think a lot of people go there.
I was going to say, I've heard that answer a lot.
Yeah. And then I started with the middle grade stories. I mean, the first book I ever wrote is still on my computer. That was, 35 years ago, I think. So if I ever revisit it, I have revisited many of my books that I've written over the time, because obviously the more you learn, you then go back and put everything you've learned into your work and tear it apart and put it back together again. But I suddenly thought, crikey, it is from 35 years ago. We didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have Sky TV, we didn't have Game Boys. It's playing in the woods, which is a bit scary nowadays, but it's so, I would say, not bordering on Enid Blyton, but it's like, it's very naive now. It's it's not at all modern. It's very old fashioned. So I will look at it at a later date. But so I started up with that. Then I started to write young adult work. And I've written a number of books. So I just keep on writing them.
I get it completely.
Yeah, and then it was the leap out of my comfort zone from my cold dead hands, and I thought, well, this is ridiculous. I can't write this. An adult psychological thriller, especially when it's set somewhere I've never been. I've never been to America. I did an awful lot of Google searches.
Google can be your best friend sometimes, or your worst enemy.
Yeah, I know. So and of course, when it was edited, the editor said, "Are you sure about this?" And I'm like, "Not really." So we all looked it up again. It's like, "Oh, okay, right." So that was amazing. So and you sort of think, wow, maybe I am actually a writer, because the imposter syndrome is so
Yeah,
strong.
everyone talks about that all the time.
I know, and some people say, "Oh, I never look at reviews." I do. I want to see some validation, but also, if somebody, I had a couple of 1 stars that break your heart. One of them said I was really racist because I called somebody a black person or a Latina, and I was told to do that by my editor anyway.
Yeah.
She was like, why haven't you ever mentioned that any of these people are white? And I'm like, it's kind of given that they're white. And it's like, I'm not going to say this white man walked, it was like, because the
Yeah.
whole point of the book was, looking at racism, looking at guns, the things that sometimes worry people outside of the state, sort of thing.
Well, I
And
think,
I had somebody,
in the States we worry about stuff like that too, though.
yes, I hope so, because it's not our constitution, it's your constitution. But obviously, as like most of Europe, we don't have access to guns as the general
Mhm.
populace. So it is quite scary for us to see
Yeah.
and hear what's going on. So it's kind of based on that. And the fact that this particularly, he's a big name in the agents, um showed great interest. It gave me hope. I thought, oh, okay, so as that one was the first one, I was especially pleased. And the others, it's like I can't stop, I just have to keep on writing now. It's like,
I
oh,
get it completely. That's how normally I am, but I think I'm just in a funk right now, and I've got a lot of outside stress and negativity bringing me down that I can't focus on anything. Like, I can't play, I'm a gamer, so I can't play video games. Reading, I can read a little bit.
oh
Writing,
no.
I can only write a little bit. It's definitely affecting me for sure right now,
Oh,
which
that's awful.
sucks. It sucks. I'm trying
Yeah, it does suck.
to trying to get it all handled and whatnot, so I can go back to being me and do everything I love to do. My
Yeah,
daughter,
I think,
she
carry on, sorry.
I write on Google Docs, and my daughter saw me had one of my stories pulled up yesterday, and she's like, "Oh, are you writing?" And I was like, "I'm trying." And it didn't work, but we've done some other writing activities to try to, you know, get my brain back towards
Yeah.
that. So,
Oh, good luck with it. Yeah, it's awful when you feel like that. It's, oh, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
my partner uses gaming as his like
outlet.
de-stress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I am. And my husband is a huge gamer. And like my games, like I play World of Warcraft. So that's like an online, RPG, whatever. But like there's always something to do. And it's just, I'll play for maybe a half an hour compared to like a couple hours and just be like, okay, I'm done. I'll go try to do something else.
Oh,
It
I
sucks.
do wish you luck.
Thank you. Um, do you have any writing advice you'd want to give to any authors?
Um, yes, I think one of the things is, don't rush. Lots of people, they do a first draft, and then they do a few edits, and then bang, they get it up. And it's like, if you're going to self-publish, please slow down. It's, do your first draft, get a good number of edits, however many you can before your head pops. Then put it
Mm-hmm.
aside. Put your manuscript aside. Give it some time, and then what I do is I load my manuscript onto my Kindle, and I read it as if it's somebody else's book. And then all you see are all the errors, and the bits that don't make sense, the where you've just moved too fast from one point to another point, and you think, oh, there needs to be a kind of a linking something there. And then you can backtrack and, you know, put it into your manuscript, and then I would say leave it again and then read it again, you know, as long as you can. You know, that time gap means that you're not reading what you think is there, because a lot of people, you know, I can do it. I can see it on my computer screen, and I can read it, and I think, yeah, that's exactly what it is. I put it onto the Kindle, and I think, oh Lord, didn't say that at all. You know, I'm just reading what I thought I put. But it doesn't make sense when you read it, as you know, on your Kindle, because you are reading it as if it's somebody else's book. I also I paid Cornerstone's literary consultancy, I must admit, a huge amount of money over the years, to critique my work. And I learned so much from them, and it cost me. And they would literally, you know, they give you a massive report at the end, and they say, what has worked is this, what has not worked is this. These are ways that you can, you know, they don't write it for you. They simply say, you know, your arc isn't good enough. Your characterization, you know, these are good, bit sloppy on that one. You know, and they point out ways that can help you. Now, even if you only get one manuscript done by a proper literary consultancy, whether it's TLC, the literary consultancy, or Cornerstones, these are the ones that have been around forever. You know, it's like, it is so worth it, because they are professional. They are not your mum. You know, when people say, oh, well, my mum, yeah, my mum loved it, it's like, well, of course she is. Unless she hates you, she's never going to say, well, no, that doesn't work. You know, your friends, I have given my work to friends, and, you know, they've come back and go, oh, I loved it. And it's like, no, that's not kind of, you know, this is as beta readers. So I've got people I've never met in my life, and they read my work. And it's funny, because obviously I think of myself as a women's, like, commercial fiction writer.
You definitely want people that are not family to read your stuff sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But I've got two men, and they have been absolutely brilliant, going through and saying, I don't think that bit works. I don't think that character would react like that, you know. And it's, and I've got another beta reader who again, you know, she's of an age where she can say, if you ask me to do this, I will do it, and don't be offended. And I'm not offended. You know, it's because people are frightened of offending you. But what you're saying is, as a reader, does this work? And you need that kind of, like, communication where they go, no, and it's like, right, tell me why. And it's like, you have to have a thick skin. You know, I had a horrifying tale. I like this word, horrifying. I've used it a couple of times, so sorry about that. Of an author who was given a bad review by somebody, who then worked out who this person was, travelled across the country. She was working in a bar. He went up behind her and whacked her over the head with a wine bottle. And I'm really hoping that this is, like, not an urban myth, but seemingly this story is, you know, is gone out. And it's like, that is such a bad, like, rep for all authors, because, you know, readers will be terrified of putting anything down as a review. You know, that author's going to come and hunt me down and whack me over the head with a wine bottle. Good grief. You know, it's like, grow a thick skin. It's
I would hope that somebody would give me good or bad advice and suggestions and whatnot, instead of just, you know, and not go crazy on me, or me go crazy on them, because I wouldn't do that. But
it's hard, because it's a huge part of yourself that you're putting out in the world. But there again, what you have to say is, I'm putting it out in the world. You can't please everybody. I mean, if the whole consensus is, you know, your punctuation, your grammar, you know, all of that is wrong, then that's something to really, really look at. If it's simply, I didn't like this story, that's a completely different thing, because you can't please everybody, you know. And maybe I should put the odd trigger warning on some of my books, not all of them. The Pact, I think, probably should have a trigger warning, but I didn't want to give anything away. It's
everyone gets so upset over stuff now. We could put a trigger warning on a book about fairies just because somebody might be afraid of fairies.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also, look at the genre. If you're going to be worried by things, don't read psychological thrillers. Don't read horror. Don't read any of these things where you might encounter. Stick to a nice romantic book, and hopefully you won't be triggered by anything. I find it because of my age as well. I mean, I'm 63, and quite frankly, it's like, people need to kind of grow up a little bit and take a little bit of self-responsibility.
Yeah.
Because it's like, don't read it. It's like people who watch things and then right at the end go, oh, that was awful, and I'm going to complain. It's like, switch it off, switch it over. Go and do anything but watch that. If you, spot one thing in it you don't like, move away. I think people like to complain. That's what it is.
Yeah, I agree completely. I am going to have to wrap up. I do got another call coming up.
That's it.
It's been so fun talking to you and hearing about your books. They sound amazing. I'm going to have to check them out and leave you some positive review, of course.
I won't come and find you.
Well, I think, in almost every book, there is something positive to take away and leave for a review. I'm not the type of person that feels the need to say something negative. I want more positivity out there in the world instead of negativity. So,
well, thank you very much, Heather. It's been brilliant.
You're welcome. And the day that this podcast airs, we will make sure to feature your book on our Book of the Day section so everyone can check it out and provide links to where it's purchasable. I can't speak English today, apparently. That way, everyone can check out your book. It's been so fun talking to you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And have a lovely rest. What time is it with you?
2:46 in the afternoon.
Oh, right. Because it's 9:15 in the evening here.
Okay.
So I was just about to have a lovely evening, and it's like, no, have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. Cheers then. Bye-bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And check out Hilly
Barmby's
books. All right, guys. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap on another episode of Magnificent Authors Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to share another inspiring conversation with a talented author. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Magnificent Authors Podcast so you don't miss any of our upcoming conversations with amazing writers. And be sure to check out Magnificent Mamas on our website, which is www.magnificentmamas.us, or on our Facebook page for more inspiring content from incredible authors. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. What resonated with you the most? Head over to Facebook or leave a comment on our website and let me know. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep those imaginations soaring.